Okay. What's up, my little firecrackers? This is blazing his way into another video. Well, this is What If Deku Was in One Piece Part 4. This is the second time I've had to record this because the video got corrupted. And, so yeah. Here we are, doing this again. And I'm kind of glad. I'm actually kind of glad it got corrupted because I've actually, come up with a more detailed fight scene between, Izuku and Crocodile. Yeah, we're gonna get to that today. We're skimming over the, the other two arcs that happen, Drum Island and Little Garden. But first thing we need to do is this is when the group finally meets Miss All Sunday. And I think I kind of didn't mention this, but the guy with the wig whose hair looks like he has a judge's wig, he's on the ship with them. He didn't separate because Izuku said, yeah, no, I'm strong enough to protect you, so you're staying here. They continue like that. That for a bit, and yeah. So, it still goes more or less the same. Izuku doesn't break the Eternal Compose, instead he just puts it in his captain quarters. And, as Miss All Sunday is leaving, he says, "That must have been terrible, what happened at Ohara." Which causes her to freeze in place, reliving the memories. I find it weird why you would work for somebody who works for the government when the government destroy everything and destroyed the only life you'd ever known, and now you're working with them? That doesn't seem right. Don't get me wrong, I'm not judging. I've been in a similar situation. I had to watch my own brother die. Back when I was too weak to do anything about it. Too weak to save them. But now you can be strong. Be better. Live a life of helping people instead of letting them succumb to the same thing that the people you cared about did. Come with me. Help me protect those who can't protect themselves. And let me heal your wounds. It's because here we're all family. And each one of us would risk our lives for someone else in this crew. And if you were to join us, we'd be willing to do the same for you. Because I know that behind this tough exterior, behind this act you're putting on while you work for a Crocodile, you really do care about people. Don't you? As he looks back at her, she's already on her turtle and leaving as he finishes. But what he didn't see was that she was crying. What no one saw was that she was crying. Happy that people actually cared. That she wasn't alone in this world, but it's gonna take a lot more than words to convince her of that, of what he's saying. And so, they continue. And, some are saddened by this fact, but what, Tokage and, Kendo, see is the exact person that he thought he was. They had been led to believe that he was some cold-hearted killer because that's who the Marines thought he was. They assumed otherwise, and what he just said proved it to them, while Kirishima in the background is saying, "That's so manly." You're welcome, Kirishima lovers. But they saw the exact person who they thought he was. The kind of person who saves other people, even though most don't see them as worthy of being saved. Worthy of redemption, but he does. He legitimately cares for everyone on this crew. Deeper, some even more than family, you know. Not naming names, but we all know who it is. And so yeah, after a month of sailing towards Little Garden, Izuku is trying some new moves. He realizes that he can create wind pressure, like, by exerting enough force, he can create wind pressure attacks that can do mid-ranged attacks. Mid to long range if he's putting more power into it. Right. So he creates a move that he calls Cyclone of Blades, in which he just goes around in a small circle, so fast that he creates a literal tornado of wind that is so pressurized that it actually can cut things. So yeah. He hasn't gotten any moves in his full Fenrir state because he's way too, bloodthirsty in that form. But yeah. So they get to Little Garden, and things go more or less the same, except that you never get captured by the Wax, because Bakugo ends up fighting the Wax guy, because he's using sheer firepower because explosions, and is just wrecking Mr. 3. And as for Miss Golden Week, she's busy fighting, or Usopp is busy taking care of her, or distracting her from being able to paint, which he's doing a fairly good job at. Kyoka is telling them when Miss All Sunday is about to try something, and so she never really gets anything off. Kirishima also was with one of the giants, and learned all about them just like Usopp did, and he's pretty excited about it. Kendo was also there. Kendo was with Kirishima, and Setsuna was with Usopp when they went to their separate giants. That's the thing. Sanji still discovers the base, and that whole thing happens. And yeah. So that all happens. The people, plural, who end up getting sick are Kyoka and Nami. Both of them get sick. Which once they get to the island, and Izuku is in this form because it's blistering cold, they still would have had the fight with the so-called Drum King and his men. They would have killed so many of them. Izuku, as soon as the Drum King tried to jump on their ship, he would have soccer punched the bitch back onto his ship and say, "If you want on my ship, you better have my permission. Otherwise, the only way you're getting on here is dead." And that's what he calls the Fenrir rocket fist, because it's using both speed and physical strength. So the fucking piece of shit breaks the sound barrier and hits like a fucking rocket. Imagine if he were to do that while his fist was infused with hockey, because he already has super strength. Plus, he's already buff as... I mean, look at this form. But yeah. So, that's the thing. So those are two of his moves. One of them I just came up with right now. So yeah. So that's how it goes. Yeah. So we're gonna just move on. So they get there and he grabs both of them and gets them up to the mountain. Everything goes to canon from there, except Izuku's the only one going out, and so Sanji isn't with him. Sanji asked to go, but Izuku said he would have just slowed him down and took them up there as fast as possible. Everything is basically canon from there, only Izuku, it all happens much faster. The Drum King still shows up and all that shit. And as he gets to the top, breathing heavily and extremely cold, even with his fur coat, in his hybrid form, he gets to the top and, grabs on to the top, breathing heavily and extremely cold, on the verge of frostbite, just like Luffy was. As Chopper then grabs him and pulls all three of them up, and they're all diagnosed. Izuku is brought inside, and they notice that he's starting to heat up almost within a minute, even without hot water being run and then throwing it in it. They see his body heating up itself. Small bits of fire appearing every once in a while. And it's a normal flame. It's not a blue flame or anything like that. It's just a normal reddish orange fire. So yeah. Moving on. So they end up throwing him in the bath anyway, but at this point he's awake, so he's awake while taking the bath. And he looks at Chopper, and he hears explosions from time to time. Says, what the fuck is that? Says, oh, that would just be the engineer that works here. Engineer? Why do you need an engineer? Your doctors. Yeah, we know, but she won't leave. And so we just let her stay here. It's like, okay. If y'all don't know who this is, I'm disappointed in you. Very disappointed. But he transforms back into... No, he stays in this form because it's much warmer in this form. And he looks at Chopper, he says... who he sees, like, transforming. Because he still remembers seeing Chopper in, like, the human form, and he sees the blue noses, and he sees the hat, and he sees the bag, and I'm like, yeah, that's the same person. It's like, so, do you mind showing me that other form of yours? I'm quite interested. It's quite interesting. Chopper freezes and tries to run away, but with Izuku's speed, he catches him, like, before he's even out the door. He's like, dude, calm down. He said, and Chopper's like, no, you're gonna see me as a monster. And then Izuku looks at him, then looks at himself, up and down, and holds his arm out like, excuse me? Have you seen what I look like? Like, come on, bruh. No one in my crew sees me as a monster, so why the hell would I see you as a monster? Well, okay, well, they might see me as a powerhouse, but not a monster. He says, really? He says, bruh. Like, no one cares what you look like. Like, I'm sorry if that, like, offends you, but no one cares what you look like. It's how you act that matters. And Chopper, being basically a tsundere the way he is, or is he bipolar? Both? I don't know. But the way he normally acts when someone compliments him is basically how that goes down. And he warms up to Izuku in the few hours that the two girls are asleep, and is told about the disease and all that. And Izuku's like pissed at himself because like it's his fault that they almost died. Because he decided to go to Little Garden instead of, where they went, instead of the other place they could have gone to. So he then gets into a shouting match with Nami and Kyoka about whose fault it was. He's saying it's his fault. They're saying it's their fault for not being clothed. Dr. Kureha shuts them all up. And then the fight with the Drum King happens. So I'm gonna skim over this. Izuku accidentally eats a rumble ball. Accidentally, as in when one of the attacks goes after Chopper, the back of rumble balls get slit, and one of them flies into Izuku's mouth. The devil's luck, my friends, the devil's luck. And Izuku just, ends up transforming, as it's for zone types, not a specific zone type, but for zone types. Anyway, the rumble balls in this last for 5 minutes at a time, and it's not recommended that you take more than one every hour. Like, after you take one and the time is up, you wait an hour before you have another one. Chopper can still, like, handle 2, but once he hits 3, he turns into the monster form. For Izuku, that monster form would be his full form, just because it's literally bloodthirsty, just like Chopper's monster form. But you get the point. So what happens is boom. The fire from before, creates like veins throughout his entire body, and causes his forearms to be covered in fire, and his calves and below also to ignite in flames as well. As he just lets out a howl towards the two underlings of the Drum King. And Chopper has been like punched back at this point, and it's just a howl of pure fire, like a fire tornado. More like a dragon's breath, but fire tornado sounds cooler. And it singes the two. The two are still alive, but like barely. So the Drum King, eats them and starts fighting with him and continuously gets burned by his fiery attacks. Now, he was like, okay, now you're really pissing me off. As he just does his Cyclone of Blades. But this time with fire. Ignore that noise. So, yeah. But this time, instead of it being wind, it's fire. So he creates a fire cyclone that just incinerates the Drum King. And it has like these little solar flares that just flicker off of it from time to time. And this is like extreme heat. This is like hellfire, guys. So, yeah. Hope you had fun. So, yeah. But somewhere along the line, his fire turns to ice, and this like glacier just comes off of his shoulders and back, and he becomes like more hunched over, as his claws become literal icicles, but still being sturdy, much sturdier than icicles. But the Drum King is already dead, so this is just me showing off new forms as he loses control of his transformations again, and lightning starts surging through him as he lets off another howl of victory this time, causing lightning to just shoot out from his mouth and into the sky. As then he loses control one final time and becomes one with the shadows. I'm recording. What are those?
If you want donuts, there's donuts.
Oh, cool, thanks. So he becomes one with the shadows. Now, you're wondering, is this just for the Skypiea arc? More or less. And is this just for the Thriller Bark arc? More or less, but that only came after I had the idea of it. Basically, he can become a shadow. And since he becomes his own shadow, the shadow fruit can't work on him because he becomes his own shadow. And because of how this devil fruit works, him in this form is more powerful than the shadow fruit itself. So one of the 7 warlords wouldn't be powerful enough to force Izuku to obey his will, since Izuku's will is definitely much stronger than his. Now, this would be more of a form where it's more defensive, and therefore he will be using his sword more often in this form. Anyway, now as he knows his devil fruit is called the Inu Inu no Mi model Fenrir, and is a mythological Zoan type based off of the wolf that devours the gods. He thinks that these forms are based off of different gods that Fenrir has consumed and gained the powers of by consuming said gods. So he calls this the Shadow God Fenrir, the Lightning God Fenrir, the Ice God Fenrir, and the Fire God Fenrir. And the eyes always stay in emerald green. Remember that. So yeah, that's how all of that works. So, moving on. So, I hope you enjoyed that little showcase of other forms that Izuku will be able to wield in the future with Rumble Balls, and like Chopper, after the 2 years training, he'll be able to use them without using the Rumble Ball. So yeah. I hope you find that interesting, how I incorporated Fenrir devouring the gods and taking on their abilities after devouring them into the devil fruit. So yeah. Moving on. Izuku will then, everything goes more or less to canon. Everyone makes their way up there, only to see that the Drum King is already dead. Chopper then joins the crew and is, warmingly, invited in, and the pink snow starts to fall as they leave. I almost forgot. How could I forget this? I'm stupid. I'm so sorry, guys. But Izuku did go to find out what the explosions were about, to find a pink-haired lass who looked like she had crosshairs for her irises, which probably just genetic, which in this case it is, because One Piece is weird. And I think it just adds to her looks. But he says, if you really like making stuff like this all the time, you can come and join me on the seas, and I'm pretty sure we could get you a lot more interesting items to work with, and could improve upon your current machines, or babies as you call them, or even make ones that you never thought possible before. To this, May, if you didn't guess it yet, how dare you, I'm gonna get people saying you forgot about hers, so don't be talking to us. But yeah, so that's more or less how that goes. She instantly says yes, because that's a great opportunity, and basically she works as the pseudo shipwright / gadget maker. So when Nami asks for a so when Nami asks for a weapon for her to use, both May and Usopp are working on it. Izuku is always encouraging her to make something different and become a better version of herself, to become the best, and he's constantly telling her that he believes that she is the best, or she has the potential to become the best, or she already is the best. And let's just say his smile is fucking infectious. So on their way to Alabasta, which takes another month and a half, which means another month and a half of training and creating. I'm gonna say this. With the time they spent there, Kendo, Tokage, and Kyoka all have learned how to use armament hockey. Mei is also pretty adept with observation hockey. Not as adept as Kyoka, but not as bad as Izuku. So like somewhere in between, because Izuku isn't anywhere near Kyoka's level, but he's still pretty decent, but he's still nowhere near Kyoka's level. So Nami tries, but she's not really that good at it. Usopp doesn't even want to bother with it. He's good with just observation hockey. Izuku gets Usopp an actual like gun, if I didn't mention that before. So when Usopp is like developing his star attacks, it's not just, a slingshot. It's like an actual bullet. So during the time skip, instead of him like having this, during the time skip he'll have a mixture of star attacks for his slingshot and for his gun. So he makes shit for both. But moving on. They during that time, Froppy ends up finally, having sex with Izuku. Well, Nami does too. Kendo, and Tokage both did as well. For the fact that what really led them to doing it is the whole speech with Miss All Sunday or Nico Robin, as that really confirmed who he was to them. So basically everyone on the ship except for Vivi has slept with him now. Well, and now Mei, because she just got on board. But over the next month and a half, she really grows to like Izuku, because he also comes up with these extremely out-of-the-box ideas for her inventions, like creating mechanical arms to extend from the side of the ship, which is nowhere near completion, but she's working on it, on blueprints for it. So look forward to that. Also, he gets some, like that shit, the Sea Prism Stone, because they use that against him a lot because of how overpowered his Devil Fruit is. They use Sea Prism Stone on him a lot, so that he ends up just dodging the nets and killing the people who were attacking him. So he just has a lot of Sea Prism Stone nets just lying around for Mei to play with. And she adores him for this, for getting him all these materials, for getting her all these different materials that she can use with. And he said that maybe they can raid a base in the future. to get some of the blueprints that allow on their ships that the ships and weaponry that the Marines use, so that they can find out how they get through the comm belt. And this made her even giddier, you know. Well, some could say horny, but one night stand happened. So now he slept with everyone on the ship except for Vivi. With that one night stand turned into more than a one night stand because the things I don't need to explain. But yeah. So anyway, moving on. So they get to the island and things go to canon until they get to the area where Crocodile is. So all that happens, the meeting with Ace and him like destroying the ships and all, if you remember that, he goes and says that he, instead of Izuku saying, oh, I could never beat him as when I was a kid, and Ace comes and says, like, they're like, oh wow, you must be really strong, you might even be stronger than Izuku. And all three of the brothers, Izuku, Katsuki, sorry, I'm used to calling him Bakugo, Izuku, Katsuki, and Ace all start laughing hysterically. Like, and Ace is the first to stop and says, even when we were kids, I could never kick his ass. Even when we were kids, I could never beat Izuku in a fight. They're all like, oh shit. What kind of man we just fucked with? Some of them literal fucking, the others figurative fucking. Being like, who the f have we just like slept with? And then the guy's thinking, who the f are we following? How much is he holding back? Katsuki says, you know, Ace, like, stop treating him like he's a little kid, because he's still treating Izuku like a little brother. He says he's already slept with several women. He's not a kid anymore. And then all the girls that have slept with him, which means everyone except for Vivi, start blushing, and like hard, blushing really hard. And while as Vivi just has a slight blush on her face because she kind of wants to do it, but is too dignified to do it. And Ace looks around and sees like all of them are blushing, and he's like, "You slept with everyone on this ship? You slept with literally all the girls on your ship, like on your crew. Like, what the actual fuck, bro?" Izuku's like, hey, I love all of them. You can't take them. Says, hey, I love each and every one of those women. Okay? Okay? This isn't like I do it because I want to pleasure myself. I do it because I love them. Like, that's not what this is. I truly love each and every one of them. Ace is just like, oh god. And he says, just make sure it stays that way. Hey, I'd hate to have to teach you a lesson, because I've gotten a lot stronger in our time apart. Which is true, he has. He's still the 2nd Division commander, but he could probably match Whitebeard in a fight. You know, Whitebeard being weakened, he could probably match Whitebeard in a fight if he wasn't holding. If both of them weren't holding back, he could probably match Whitebeard in a fight. That's how strong he is. But that's just because Whitebeard is, you know, extremely sick. Because of his old age, he became more prone to sickness. But But yeah. Izuku also says that how he has the power of a devil fruit now, and kind of shows off his hybrid form. And Ace still trying to be still being confident, and even though he does now, he's like, I might not be able to, but still being confident about it. Says that he probably could still beat him, which makes Izuku want to fight him, but he needs to save up his energy for his fight with Crocodile. So anyway, we're gonna skip to his first fight with Crocodile, which Crocodile is waiting outside the city in the desert, while all the others have split up to go to the other place as they found that they were already going to be attacking the capital. So they go to the so they've already head there with the Sonic Duck Squadron. I believe that's what they were called. And so he's fighting with Crocodile, and uses his Cyclone of Blades. It's only for it to go straight through Crocodile, as he cannot infuse the air with Hockey yet. So right now he's just, I have no idea what that noise was, but right now he's trying to gauge Crocodile's strength. Crocodile ends up jabbing him through the chest while he is in this form. Not through the heart or anything. So he's not gonna instantly die. But enough for Crocodile to think that he was dead. And leaves him there to die. By the time that Crocodile is halfway there, his wound is completely healed, and he's awake again. He meets Pell, eats for a bit, and by eats for a bit, I mean finishes eating within a minute. Is okay, let's go. And he picks up Pell, and just fucking starts bolting at full speed. Which we've already said, he can break the sound barrier. So he's fucking moving. So he jumps all the way to the other end. When he's going at such a speed that once he gets to the river, he fucking jumps over that shit. So about the Kung Fu Dugong thing, that event still happens. That canon still happens. In case I need to be specific, that event still happens, and he still trains under Luffy. So the Kung Fu Dugong already knows how to use Haki because has an idea of how to use Haki. So when he starts training by himself, he'll be able to use it much sooner than he did in canon. Because I found that adorable that the animal could use Haki. It was amazing. I loved it. Favorite scene. Hands down, one of my favorite scenes. Yeah, so on the other end, so he lands on the other end and is still bolting. Mr. 2 got taken down easily by Kirishima. Kyoka finds the bomb before it's even mentioned. And I'm gonna skip the second fight and go straight to the third fight that is underground in the ruins with the whole poneglyph. Now, here's the thing. They end up stopping the war, and Usopp, and Kyoka, who using observation Haki can easily snipe people as well, because her observation Haki is so much better. By the end of this What If, she will be the best observation Haki user in the world. Like, she's that good. So Izuku is, you know, give me a second. Stupid ass getting calls from Scam Likely. Stupid bitches. Yeah. So, what happens is, we're gonna skip straight to that fight. Everything else goes down. Mei defuses the bomb as, Kyoga tells her where it is. Kirishima goes with her to defeat whoever is, like, guarding it. Easily one punches both of them. Mei defuses the bomb, or disarms it, basically, and then scraps it for parts. Because it's Mei we're talking about, she'd scrap that shit for parts. The cannon too. And just having Kirishima drag it. Kirishima and Zoro drag the shit. Like, keep moving. So he instantly goes for his rocket fist, which he hasn't lost any momentum while he was running all the way here. So that rocket fist is like, that's at least 5 times as powerful as a normal rocket fist. And it's infused with Haki, so it's even more powerful. I'd say at least 10 times. If not 15 times. The strength of a normal rocket fist. And he just punches the shit out of Crocodile, breaking his fucking jaw off of his face. And since he was using Haki, he actually bleeds. Izuku just crushes the rest of his face under his boot. Because why not? Like, he wouldn't actually have seen Izuku coming. He's just moving that fast. Now you know the overpoweredness of, being of the Inu no Mi model Fenrir. So yeah, no, he's dead. He is so very dead. Plus he was also in that bloodlust, which being in that, like, bloodlust angry state, also increases his power. I'm not going to say by how much, but because it depends on how angry or how pissed off he is. But yeah. Ooh. Sorry. I left something on. Had to turn it off. But yeah, so this fight with Crocodile goes the same way. Izuku can actually read the poneglyph, as if the universe was speaking to him, kind of like how Gold Roger was able to read the poneglyph without actually, knowing the language. So Izuku would then grab Robin, even though she's given up on life too. And she gives up on life, but he still saves her, saying that she's worth saving and that she can be redeemed. And that he will protect her with his very life if need be, and stuff like that. Anyway, so continuing on with what happened is the celebration still happens. They go back to their boat, and Vivi goes with them, stealing a sword from her father. This sword. Right. A legendary sword known as the Beheading Serpent. If any of you know where I get that name from, and can translate it back into the Japanese, thank you. Because I don't have time to do that. But yeah. Kudos to you. I'm not explaining where it's from. But if you know, good for you. Moving on to the back to the story. So she takes this sword and gives it to Luffy, and is now officially a part of the crew. Now this sword is known as the Beheading Serpent for a reason, and it's that when someone who is, trained with it, and it's like it has a soul, basically. And once it has accepted its wielder, all legendary swords are this way, it has to accept the wielder. And once it does, it, moves. One could say that when it moves almost like a snake. And whenever aiming for the neck, it's almost as if it goes effortlessly through, almost like you're cutting through paper. So yeah, that's why it's called the Beheading Serpent. And it's almost like the trail leaves behind and looks scaly like a serpent too, but that's another topic. So Izuku now has this blade. Vivi is now officially a part of the crew, and so is Nico Robin. Before they get to the next island, something weird is there. They see that it's full of fruit-bearing trees. It takes about a month to get here. 2 months to get here. And Nico Robin, whenever she's not just relaxing, she's usually talking to Izuku about research, because Izuku is also extremely interested in the poneglyphs. After all, he was able to basically hear what the words on the poneglyph were supposed to read as. And now what's really going through his mind is he's researching Pluton and all the rumors about it. Whenever they get to an island, that's what he's doing. So he did that, during that whole entire celebration thing, that's what he was doing. He was researching in the, palace library, and all the rumors point to that it's somewhere in the second half of the Grand Line, sunken beneath the sea. Or hidden beneath the sea or something, because no one's ever found it. Based on what he gathers over the entirety of the series in the first half of the Grand Line, so I'm just summarizing this throughout all of this so that I don't forget later. It is near an island called Punk Hazard. That's where it all points to. But the thing about it is, it's extremely hard to find Punk Hazard, as its magnetic field has been destroyed, and therefore no Compos will ever be able to find it again. So yeah, there's that. But he's also researching devil fruits and stuff like that, and the normal things that he researches. And we'll get into what he finds later. Moving on to this island with a bunch of fruit-bearing trees that they find. The strange thing is, they find two things. One of these fruits looks like this. No one knows what it is. They all know it's a devil fruit, but they don't know what kind of devil fruit it is. So Izuku takes it, puts it in a chest, locks it, and hides it in a secret cabinet so that no one can touch it. And they find this. This is as close as I could find to what I was looking for, but basically it also has these weird things that come out of it that look like gears. There's Mei's drawn to this fruit. As Izuku hears the voice of the universe, as he's assuming it to be, it says that tells him that Mei would be the perfect person to this, and Mei wants to eat it for some reason. Plot convenience. So even though everyone's trying to discourage her, Zuko says, if you want to eat it, then eat it. And so as long as you're willing to take the risk. Plus, it's not like I'm going to be letting you fall into the ocean anytime soon, or ever. So she eats the fruit, and basically what it does is it allows her to create mechanical things. Like, things that have to do with mechanics, she can just create out of thin air. As long as she's, like, made it before, like, made the part before, she can just create it out of thin air. So it's a non-combat type devil fruit. But it still holds weight. But it's still going to be really powerful for her. And Izuku's like, yep, that voice, definitely listening to that voice from now on. It knows what it's talking about. So, yeah. So that's the thing. I think I'm gonna end it here, guys. So I hope you enjoyed. This has been Blazing What Ifs. Blazing away.